Dear friends, ladies and gentlemen, it is such an honor to be addressing the United Community of African Students of the University of Wageningen. Wageningen University remains one of the best ranked universities in the field of agriculture. Friends, let's go back to the 1990s and look at the picture being shared on the media about Africa's agriculture. What do you see? A woman with a baby on the back with a hoe and digging a dry field in the hot sun. This is how Africa's subsistence agriculture was portrayed. Now, fast forward to 2019. What do we see? Agriculture is now being regarded as not just a development activity or a social sector, but a business, and where the size of the food and agribusiness market in Africa is estimated at $1 trillion by 2030. How did this happen, you may ask yourself? Well, ladies and gentlemen, agriculture has to feed a world of 9 billion people. We need nothing less than a new green revolution. Agriculture already dominates our planet, whether it's 40% of our land surface, 70% of the water we use, and even 30% of our greenhouse gas emission. In fact, agriculture has the single most powerful force unleashed on this planet since the end of the Ice Age, no question. Ladies and gentlemen, by 2040, Africa's workforce could be 1 billion strong, and so finding jobs for this young population should be at the forefront of government agenda. This challenge is coupled with Africa's increasing demand for varied and nutritious food. The solution to both is obvious: build successful agri-businesses. These will not only provide food for Africa, but jobs and wealth for young entrepreneurs like yourselves. Right now, Africa's agricultural value chains are underdeveloped and in places non-existent. Yet, we need not only to boost up productivity, but strengthen an agribusiness value chain and to cater for new customers. Fragmented producers or businesses can be brought together to combine their resources. Growth of national and regional trade for the urban retail sector should also be supported. Investments that aid these processes will deliver a stronger environment for jobs and wealth to be created. So, my dear friends, young people who viewed agriculture as a dead-end career that entails lifelong labor on a farm must rethink. With the rapid pace of growth of technology, the use of drones, automated tractors, artificial intelligence, robotics, and blockchains, agriculture as we know it today will change. Take the 27-year-old Sinai Walderthal, a business administration graduate. He spotted a gap in the market for exporting spice blends to Ethiopians living abroad in the US and in Europe. Since he set up in 2012, demand for his products has increased, and he now exports to African market. He has carved a successful career from agriculture and without a hand-hoe in sight. So how can development professionals help fledgling entrepreneurs in rural food production to become business people? It is critical to bridge the gaps in education. There is an urgent imperative to radically modify the curriculum in many of our universities to embrace new trends, new technologies with a focus on agribusiness entrepreneurships for young people. Technologies to achieve Africa's green revolution exist. For the most part, they are all just sitting on the shelves. The release of water-efficient maize varieties, for example, now allow farmers to harvest good yields in the face of moderate drought, boosting resilience. Heat-tolerant and disease-resistant livestock and technologies for ramping up aquaculture exist. Friends, with the right investment to support entrepreneurs in agriculture, profitable careers await Africa's young population. Access to finance is critical and should not stop at access to microfinance. There are businesses that have outgrown microfinance and are awaiting help from mainstream banks. They should be supported with their own tailored financial products that will help them grow to a size where they can bank with commercial banks. Lenders should also take into account the viability of the whole value chain in which an agricultural entrepreneur operates, sharing the risk among other actors and allowing borrowers to benefit from higher lending on better terms. It's also important to realize that we cannot create an entrepreneur, but you can create an environment that will help them thrive. Governments and donors must invest in the institution and infrastructure that support them. The taps for global climate finance may be flowing, but they are only dripping for Africa. Of the $820 billion in climate finance flows for 2015-2016, only $16 billion or 2% was for Africa. Africa is being shortchanged. Economic policies and financial incentives must be put in place to inspire a generation of agricultural entrepreneurs. There is no reason why Africa should be spending $35 billion a year importing food. All it needs to do is to harness the available technologies with the right policies and rapidly raise agricultural productivity and income for farmers and assure lower food prices for consumers. Let's show Africa's youth that agriculture can turn a profit and be an attractive career. However, to be able to make a dent, we must reduce inequality and insecurity of access to land, especially for women who form majority of farming population. The challenge of access to land for women is not just a technical issue, it is a political issue. National governments should promote, ensure, and expand the access of women to land. Women's secure access to land is not a favor, it is a fundamental right. No bird can fly with one wing. African economies will only progress when there is greater equality between men and women. African agrarian system must support dynamic and market-oriented agriculture with a commercial orientation while building equity, fairness, and collective wealth from the soil. Friends, the future of food in the world will depend on what Africa does with agriculture. Yes, you heard right. Africa holds 65% of uncultivated arable land left to feed 9 billion people by 2050. And yet, only 10% of this is cultivated. That's a mere 40 million hectares. Africa accounts for 75% of world's cocoa production, with 65% produced in Côte d'Ivoire and Ghana. But when the continent only receives 2% of the $100 billion annual revenue from chocolate globally, the reason is because Africa exports just raw cocoa beans. Same pattern exists for cassava, cowpea, millet, and sorghum, amongst other crops. Producing raw material is no longer enough. It is time for Africa to move to the top of the global food value chain through agro-industrialization and add value to all of what it produces. The demand for raw commodities is elastic, but the demand for processed and value-added commodities is not. The price of cotton may decline, but never the price of textile and garment. The price of cocoa may decline, but never the price of chocolates. The price of coffee beans may decline, but never the price of brewed specialty coffee at Starbucks. The reliance of the continent on export of raw commodities exposes it to high variability and instability of global commodity prices. There is absolutely no reason for Africa to become food insecure. Africa must become a breadbasket for the world. Unlocking this enormous potential of Africa's agriculture must be at the top of global food security agenda. To be able to achieve this, we need to invest in you, the youth of Africa. You are not just the future, but also the present. I do not believe the future of Africa's youth lies in migration to Europe. Your future lies in an Africa with a more rapid and inclusive economic growth, which creates quality jobs. As John Lennon's words resonate, the future was yesterday, and we are already late. We have the moral obligation, duty, and responsibility to rise together and end hunger in Africa. And we must go much further, turn agriculture into a business for creating wealth. We must join our hands and efforts together and fulfill the SDGs. Without Africa, the SDGs cannot be implemented. The success of the SDGs in Africa, therefore, will make them a global success. So let us bring our seedlings and our hands on the tractor steering wheels, plow, sow, and reap a bountiful harvest from Africa to help feed the world. Thank you for your attention.